Today we are going to crochet ourselves a beautiful Christmas lights wreath. Join us, won't you? Hello and welcome to another Mumsy video. I've got my Slurpee. I'm ready to make a wreath. So we'll first begin by going over the supply list. So you'll need a wreath form. This one's tiny. I'm just doing a tiny one this year. My door's not that big or fancy, so we're just gonna do a little guy. But don't worry if these are too expensive. If you go to the dollar store, you can see pool noodles. $2, and what you do, you can cut it and just duct tape that together and it makes whatever size wreath you want. I mean, you could make a giant one. Anyway, the size of the wreath doesn't matter. I will show you the pattern for whatever size you get. Also, you will need a ring to hang it up, of course. If you don't have a ring, another cheap alternative. Have you drank out of these cans before? What you do, pop the little tab. If you sew the bottom on, then you can use the top as the hanger. Perfect and cheap. Next, we'll need some crochet hooks. H, that's to do the covering around the wreath. And a G to do the lights and the chain that we're going to need. And as for colors, I'm going to do my wreath with a background in blue. I think white would look really nice, but my door is white. So I'm going with a little bit non-traditional Christmas there. And then you'll need various colors for the lights. These fluorescents look really fabulous because it looks like the lights are kind of on, right? So I've got a few different fluorescents, some yellow, green you'll need, some form of dark green or gray or black to make the chain and the base for the little lights. And a color for the bow. I have a bunch of red here, so we're going to make it a little Christmassy and use red. I'll also use this red for some of the lights. It doesn't matter how many colors you use. You could make all the lights one color. You could do them rainbow, whatever you have. It's a really great project for the scraps of yarn. So if you have lots of little scraps, it's perfect for that. You also might need, depending on how large you make your lights, you might need just a little bit of stuffing. I tend to just use the leftover yarn for that. I can push the tail in and things like that for the light. All right, so get your Slurpee and we're gonna get started next. Okay, we've got my Slurpee. We've got the wreath here. And we've got blue yarn and an H hook. And the first thing we're going to do is figure out how much we're going to need to go around this wreath. So we're going to start here by chaining. I'm going to try maybe 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not enough. Let's try 16 or so. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. What we want to do is to have it come around and do the entire length here because we're going to make a strip and then sew it together. So that 16 worked. I'm going to just do one extra because we're going to need it as the first half double crochet and HDC, and then in the second chain here we're going to HDC and all the way across. Can you see that? Around half double crochets. And I'm not going to worry about getting perfect in that chain because we're going to sew it together anyway. So I'm just going to grab the one loop instead of trying to find both loops. We get here to the end, I'm just going to check it again. So if you have a larger wreath width around here, then you're going to need a little more on the chain. But see how it comes together like that, and that's what we want. So we're going to chain one. We've turned it here, and then we're going to half double crochet again all the way across, and we're going to build up this lovely piece by doing that over and over again until we can fit it all the way around our wreath. Back, and we are on the last row. The reason this is the last row for me is not only because it's long enough, but because I am running out of blue yarn. So I think it's time to end it. So we're just finishing off this last bit here. Luckily, I have enough, and the way we are doing this with HDC stitches makes it a little more stretchy, so we can make this little sweater for our wreath a little bit tighter if we have to, because that's all the yarn I have, and we need a little bit to sew it together. So I'll show you. It doesn't look like it'll fit, but believe me, if we sew it together, it'll stretch across. So you can see how that goes. So now we're at the end here, and I will show you what we do. We're going to put it together. Fold it like so, so it's a circle, and we're just going to slip stitch this together. So I'm going to chain one, go into that first one, and then the first one on the other end where that chain was at the beginning. And oh, actually I'm just, oops, let's try that again. I'm going to chain one, put it through here, line it up with the chain here, and slip stitch. Not the easiest. Okay, now line it up again with the next stitch and slip stitch, and again all the way across. I was running out of blue here, so it's going to be kind of a stretch. You can always do yours so that there's less of a stretch, but it'll all work out. See? And what we're going to do is take our yarn needle here and we will sew it onto our wreath. Oops. Not so good at threading these things sometimes. There we go. Okay. Now don't worry about if the stitching will show. See, I'm just going to pull it across. Stretch it around, and if it looks a little rough, it's okay because this will actually be twisted onto the back of the wreath, so it'll lay against the door. Now we are going to be making the little lights that we're going to put on our wreath. Like these little guys I made with white. Aren't they cute? So what we're going to need for this is a G hook. We were using the H for the cover here, but we'll also need a green, a gray, a black, something dark that will act like the wire. And we're going to do pink lights next. So I've got my neon pink yarn here. So we're going to get started. Get the green attached to your hook here. And we're going to chain 2. And in the second chain from the hook here, we are going to SC, single crochet 4. 2, 3, 4. And this is for the part where you would put the bulb inside. Now we're going to crochet this in the round, so I find with 4 it's a little tricky. But the next row, we're going to just SC4 again. You can use a stitch marker for this, but I find the rows are so small, you don't need to. So 2, 3, 4. Now the third row is the same. We're going to do another row of 4. Notice we're not chaining, we're not joining, we're just going in the round here. So 4 again, 1, and it's hard because it's so small. 2, 3, oops, 3, and on this fourth one we're going to change the color. So to do an easy color change, I just go halfway through the stitch like this. Just keep this kind of end piece out of the way here, and we are going to switch to our pink. Now our first row of pink will be to increase in every stitch, so that means put 2 single crochets in every stitch, but I'm going to join it like that. Hold it down for a second while I get in there. My goodness. it gets kind of small for a minute, but we're going to put 2 in, so that'll end up being 8 stitches. With the pink first thing, 2, it's hard with all these little things sticking out. You can tuck them in after. Anyway, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, I'm going to just cut this green because we don't need it anymore. And put it to the side here. Now what I do is just tie all these ends together so that they won't come loose on the greens and the pinks. And I'm just going to tuck them inside here. Use a pin. Oh, I'll just use the hook. Sometimes I don't want to. With stuff that's this small, it's a little tricky, but if it doesn't fit all in there, it'll fit in with the stuffing anyway. Working with small stuff is hard. So now the next 2 rows are just straight across SC around. So if there's 8 stitches per row, we're going to do 16 SCs. That way we don't have to use a stitch marker, we just count 16. 1, oh, for heaven's sakes. I might have to show you this 2 or 3 times just because it's so tight, and I might have to use a bigger hook. We'll see. 2. There we go. 3. 14, 15, 16, and now for the decrease, we're going to do 2 and then a decrease, 1, 2, and decrease, and then 1, 2, and decrease again. It's very hard to not get your fingers in the shot, so you can kind of see what I'm doing here with the decreases, but if you know how to crochet, you'll definitely know how to decrease. So there we go. And a little bit of stuffing. Just a tiny, tiny touch of stuffing in here. Just to make him a little fat. There we go. And we're going to do one more row of 6 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now we're going to try to decrease as much as possible here. This one I did a little looser just to show you. 1 decrease. I might be able to get another one in there. 2, but 3 I haven't been able to do yet. There's, oh, maybe not. Oops. A little bit extra in there. 2. And that's gonna do it. Fasten off. And our little yellow bulb. And bring it to the inside here. Getting the hook out is tricky. Okay, and there we have it. So I'm going to leave you to make as many of these as you think should go around your wreath. Well, today is a new day and I don't have a Slurpee yet, but I have all my little lights done. They're so cute. So we're going to move on to the next step now, which requires your green yarn to make the wire. And I'm going to use my G hook, but your H hook will work as well. And basically we're just going to chain and attach all these lights into a long cord. So I'm going to see, maybe chain 20 and then attach. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Why I want it so long is because I want all the lights on the front of this wreath. So if I do that, then at least we can kind of rearrange them so that they're all facing the front or the sides and not any on the back where we hang it, and it would not hang so well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab a light and we're going to insert our hook through the bottom and just slip stitch it on. Then keep chaining another 20, another 20 here. So 1, 2, got our lights and our wreath done. We're just going to make the bow. So with red and a G or an H hook, we're just going to chain a whole bunch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 97, 98, 99, 100. That should be long enough to make a nice bow out of. Okay, so we'll just do 2 more just to do the, and we're going to double crochet in the second chain. and double crochet all the way across. So we made a bow out of our red strip here. You can make it longer, bigger by adding more rows of double crochet if you'd like. I am not really good at tying bows, so what I did was just glued it with some hot glue. So we're ready to put our wreath together. So the first thing I do is I kind of figure out where I want the top back to be. And I'm going to use glue, but you could also sew. And I'm going to just put a dab there and start by putting that last bit of string of my wreath there, of the row. And then I'm just going to kind of, I don't recommend gluing at this point because you'll see some of these will be at the back and where you don't want them, and oops, my glue's sticking. There we go. So we're just going to get a taste of where we want all of these. Then we will glue them down. Okay. So we'll take a look at the front and we'll kind of organize where we want our lights to go. We've got all those pretty bulbs sewn or glued into place. So now we've got to decide where we want to put the bow. I'm going to put mine on this bottom corner here because I think that will look the best. You can also at this point decide where you want the top, where you want the bottom, where you want the bow, and I'm just going to glue the bow into place here. That down to make sure it's stuck on there good. And then, oh yeah, there we go. Organize it. So pretty. You could also use a store-bought bow if you don't want to crochet one. And then I'm going to figure out where the top is, right here. And I'm going to just glue the hook in place. You can also sew it on whatever you like. You know, I'm going to put the smooth side against the door here. It's very light, so it doesn't need too much. And ta-da! We've got our wreath. Comment, like, subscribe, click the bell, and bye-bye for now.